So the big question is this: how these entrepreneurs who started from scratch and had no idea how to sell or market their products or services online and then later on made over 6 figures, 7 figures or even 8 figures, became best in their niches and found their dream customers to sell. My name is RJ Ahmed and find this all out in our Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I interviewed these entrepreneurs and tried to pick their brain of how they actually did that and how they took their business as well as their life to the next level. This podcast is all about the entrepreneurs who strive so hard to become super awesome in their niches. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs show, where we interview entrepreneurs who are super awesome in their niches. Finally, after spending 2 weeks for doing a press tour out there, we're back on the show again. And today we have a special guest. We have a guest who is a mini little thought leader who really know how to really go in and leverage a distribution channel and understand the power. He's the founder of the Think Different Theory podcast. If you haven't listened and you're in this entrepreneurship journey out there, I don't know what you really listen to. He really have the thought of freedom and everything out there, and built so many relations with so many entrepreneurs who are into this market, and also work with them and so many things. So please welcome Josh Forti. Hey, Josh.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Hey, Josh.
What's up, man? How are you?
For being on the show. I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing so well. I'm excited for this interview.
I'm super excited as well. And again, thank you so much for being on the show. And the people who are jumping on live, use hashtag live. The people who are jumping on the replay, use hashtag replay. And again, Josh, thank you so much. So the people who really don't know about your backstory, how you actually got started and got into entrepreneurship, could you walk through a little bit about it?
Heck yeah. Before I start, I want to say I'm actually super excited for this interview. You're dude, you're one of those people that takes massive action. I got to give you mad props because like we get hit up for a lot of different interviews. And I've been super busy recently. I just got married and we're in the middle of launching companies and, marketing campaigns or whatever. And so pretty much the only reason I said yes is because I saw how many other interviews that you had done with other people. And that's super awesome. So way to take massive action, way to go out there and do the Dream 100 effectively. So big props to you.
Thank you so much. And again, congratulations for your marriage.
Thank you. Yeah. So a little bit of my backstory. So I got started about, I don't know, probably 5 years ago or so now, 4.5, 5 years in the social media space. I got started on Instagram specifically. And I blew up a following on there. I'm going to kind of condense the backstory of this and kind of fast forward to where we are now. But got started on there, grew and managed about 5 million followers or so on social media, all organically. Had an agency that did that, then kind of transitioned from that into a lot of just content creation and personal branding and just audience growth in general for clients on not only the Instagram platform, but also the Facebook group platform. And that really, I kind of found my sweet spot in Facebook groups and specifically 5-day challenges into Facebook groups, kind of using a sideways webinar, and got really good at that. Generated millions of dollars for my clients. I've worked with ClickFunnels. I've worked with Steve Larson and Catherine Jones and Cashflow Tactics and Dave Woodward and a lot of the big names in the industries that I've had as clients to be able to kind of go through and blow up the audiences and do launches. And we're actually in talks with some of the names I just mentioned, but also others, to do some really cool stuff with those there. And so got into that, had my journey of we're going to make a ton of money. And then about 2 years ago, I had kind of a life-altering moment when my brother died in a helicopter crash. And so I'm the second oldest of 8 kids. I had one older brother, and then so he passed away. So now I'm the oldest of that. And about 2 years ago is when that happened. It was in March. And it was interesting because as I was on that journey, the only thing I thought I wanted was I just thought I was an entrepreneur that wanted to go and make $100 million. That was it. That was the goal. It was how do I go build a $100 million company and get super rich? Right. And then when my brother passed away, that really totally altered the trajectory of my life. I had a company. We were doing, between probably $50,000 and $70,000 months at the time. I was an agency, I had a business partner, and my whole world just came it came crashing to a halt, right? You question so many things in your life. You're what's important and what matters. And you get a lot of perspective when someone that's very, very close to you passes away. Right. And it was a very tragic, kind of was very sudden, right? And so I ended up selling my company and really going on this journey of finding myself and finding who I was and finding what I believed. And like, I think a lot of times, like the terminology, I'm going to go find myself, right? Like that's kind of like a cliche thing that people say. It's like, no, like I
Yeah.
actually went on this journey of discovering my identity and who I saw myself as. And so my now wife, but girlfriend at the time, we got on a plane, we traveled around the world. We went to a bunch of different countries. We went to different, churches and studied different religions. And then when we came back, I hired a mindset coach. Her name's Katie Richardson. She's amazing. But like, I went through a lot of conflict there, a lot of like personal doubts, a lot of personal like fears of like, hey, am I qualified to do this? Or like, hey, what's my purpose here in life? And like trying to figure out that whole thing. And like as entrepreneurs, I think it was Tony Robbins that said like 90% of like business problems start because of personal problems, right? Like they're personal problems in your life and then they show up in your business, right? And like that was me 100%. And so even though I had this super successful business beforehand, or it looked like it was a super successful business, I was miserable, right? I was unhappy because I was working 18 hours a day, working 7 days a week, like literally, right? Like nonstop. I was, from the time I woke up, I would literally wake up, I'd roll over and I would start like working. Like so while I was still in bed, and I'd be on that phone or on a phone call or on a computer for 18 hours. And I'd go to bed at like midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I would, like this, and I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up and I'd pick right back up. Like that was it. Right. And so I was miserable and I had no idea what my purpose was. Right. And so after going on this world trip, I get back. My girlfriend at the time actually got sick while we were overseas. So we ended up cutting the trip early. I come home. And at this point, like I've blown pretty much all of my savings because at least in the business, because like when my girlfriend got sick, we had already paid for the next 2 months of expenses, like all of our Airbnbs and our cars and hotels. All of it was non-refundable. And so that was like $20,000 worth of expenses. And then not only that, when she got really sick, we had to buy first class flights home so she could lay down. It was like $10,000 like a ticket to get her home, right? It was like crazy, right? So like in the course of like a week, I went from thinking I'm going to be traveling for the next 2.5 months to like, okay, I just spent like lost like $40,000, right? Like of everything. I was like, whoa, right? And so I get back and I have no business in place. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just hire a mindset coach. And this was back at the beginning of last year. And it's like, I've done all these really cool things, right? Like I've worked with ClickFunnels and I've, made millions of dollars for my clients and millions of followers on social media. And I've got to speak on stages and I'm friends with Russell Brunson, like all these really cool things, right? But like, I didn't have really any direction in life, right? And so going through that process, I figured out, okay, if I can first start with knowing who I am, like actually knowing who I am, actually knowing who I believe or like what I believe and actually knowing like what it is that I want out of life and then create massive focus around that, like all of life can change. And that's what I did. And over the course of the last 18 months, we got really, really good at doing launches, really, really good at distribution channels and distributing content and, kind of my background there. And got very, very laser focused on how to create wildly profitable brands, wildly profitable audiences and things of that nature. And, I've gone on, 2020 was the most profitable year of my life. We had the most success in business, most success in the personal life. Dream home, dream car, or I guess an apartment. I'm living in Colorado, got married, get to work with really, really awesome, amazing dream clients and really created this amazing, incredible, beautiful life simply because I figured out that identity and mindset was the key to getting whatever it was that you wanted. So that's a little bit about my backstory. I've been very blessed. I have a podcast called Think Different Theory, as you can see, that we started about 2 years, actually right before my brother died. So you get to see the whole progression over the past 2.5 years of like growth. And been able to do some really cool stuff. I've interviewed and hung out with Russell Brunson like 3 or 4 times. Some other big name influencers. You got, Colin Wayne. I've like Logan Paul and Dude Perfect's managers. People like that. Just really, really cool. All like the 2 Comma Club and 2 Comma Club X winners. We've been interviewed tons and tons of them and just learning tons along the way.
Love it. And one thing that you said that makes a lot of sense into that aspect is even though your business is going fine and the personal side is not going that much well, that really affects a lot in the business end as well. Because even though you are doing business on the internal side, you're not like super happy, you don't have that peace of mind. And when you talked about Katie, we got Katie on our show a few episodes back, which was pretty awesome. And she was talking about a lot of stuff. And one thing that she really said, and one thing that I really noticed as well through following you over a year or so, any person I got on a show and that person knows about Dream 100, they gave example of Josh. They were like, have you saw Josh do this? Have you saw Josh do that?
Really?
Follow Josh, like understand. Like I remember you gave the Flamethrower to Dave Woodward. That was a gift you gave to Dave. and there were
The
so many
Flamethrower?
other
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the Mormon book, which was the Mormon book to Russell Brunson.
Yep.
So it was like so crazy to see how he really followed and took that Dream 100 stuff to the next level, and I really saw that kind of implementation. And for myself personally, I really got motivated by watching you and one or two other people out there that, hey, I have to have my own show. That is the reason why I really did that. So how
And
you
and
became?
and can I
Yeah,
touch on that really quick? What most people don't understand about a show early on is the show is not for other people, it's for you. And
yeah,
people look at they start a podcast or they start a show and they go, "Hey, how many downloads am I going to get? Or how many views am I going to get?" And it's like that doesn't matter, right?
yeah,
It doesn't.
100%.
Like it if your goal is to become the biggest podcaster in the world, then that matters. But
Yeah,
no, I was listening to John Lee Dumas one time, who he has got an awesome podcast, right?
yeah.
Like he said, like he was podcasting, it was like for like 3 or 4 years before he started seeing traction. 3 or 4 years,
Wow.
right? So like if you're podcasting, when you're starting out, it's to find your voice, it's to give you confidence, it's to
Yeah,
give you clarity, it's to test your messages. And then you can go out and find distribution channels. You can go dream 100 people and do JV partnerships. You can go buy
true.
Facebook ads, right? But like those are not going to work until you know your message. Those are not going to
Yeah,
work until you have the confidence to go out there and put out what you believe. Those are not going to
so
work until
true.
you do the work. And the show is the thing that gives you the platform to do that, whether there's one person listening or 10,000. It doesn't matter, right? And so what I
Absolutely.
realized that, and by doing the show, like that has opened more doors for me than anything else, right? Like literally, because now I'm interviewing cool people and you get to interview really cool people, right? And people see like the reason that you and I are sitting down on this interview right now is because you have a show where you've interviewed a bunch of other people, right? That's why the
Absolutely.
opportunity came, right? And so like my big piece of advice to people, when especially like if you want to get into distribution channels, like how you get distribution channels, how you get people interested in talking to you, how you get people's attention is by having a show and refining your message, and then using things like the Dream 100 to find the right people to put on your show. And then you start to kind of create a movement that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree to that particular stuff. And that is a main thing, many people really don't understand. Just because of this distribution channel, I was like getting called like few weeks back in Platinum Affiliate event to be speaking alongside like Peng Joon. For me, it was huge, but it happened only because of the show itself. So yeah,
That's
that
amazing.
definitely, yeah, that is, and that definitely made sense. So how you really did a Dream 100 in a different way by other people watching it, there are so many people out there who did it in a very wrong way. They just go in and try to serve people and ask. And I really know how you really did that in with every single person. But I really want to hear from you. What was the thing that was different from you from doing to other people who was failing in doing Dream 100? What was different in your perspective?
Yeah. Like I don't even know where I learned this. I'm trying to think of the story, but it's like, don't be boring, right? So like for me, I like my whole life, like I actually struggled with a lot of insecurity growing up of like trying, like, I felt like I never got enough attention, right? Like I felt like I was the loud kid and I was this kid that was like super full of energy, but like I was kind of like the misfit in like my friends group because like, I don't know, like I just was, right? And like people, and so I felt like I was constantly like fighting for attention. And so like during that time though, I figured out that like if you want to get someone's attention, like don't do what everybody else is doing, right? And so like everybody else is like, hey, here's my product that I'm going to give you for free. Or hey,
Yeah,
can you come on my show? Or hey, Russell, will you promote my product for me? Or hey, Dave, will you do whatever for me, right? And so I was like, well, if everybody else is asking for favors or everybody else is sending generic gifts, what if I didn't ever ask for anything from them? What if I
yeah,
never, ever asked for JVs? I never asked for favors. I never asked for deals. And then what can I do that nobody else has sent them, right? Like nobody else,
true.
like ever, like, okay, cool. I'm going to send donuts to the office. Okay. Anybody can do that, right? Oh, I'm going to get a plaque with their name on it. Like anybody can do that, right? So it's like, what's something that's very unique and different? And so at the time with Dave Woodward, I actually had bought the Flamethrower.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you actually saw when I very first got the Flamethrower, I was at my old apartment. I don't know if you saw the guy called the cops on me. And so I was there in the parking lot and he's like, I'm going to call the police. This is illegal. I'm like, it's not illegal. Like, okay, whatever. It's just like a blowtorch, whatever. Right. And so like, I don't know, it was like a week later or 2 weeks later. Maybe it was a little longer than that. I don't remember. But I remember reading a post from somebody at ClickFunnels. I think it was Miles. And he's like, Dave Woodward just walked into the office and was like, all right, guys, today's just going crazy. I just need a flamethrower so I can burn everything down. It was like some joke like that. And I was like, Dave wants a flamethrower. I have a flamethrower. Yeah. This is awesome, right? Nobody sent Dave a flamethrower before, right? And so I learned, and I was very, very particular, and I started listening very intently about who it was that I was trying to Dream 100 and what they were into, right? And so like for Dave, I've been trying to Dream 100 Dave and Russell for a long time. And for Dave, it was like, oh, I now know that Dave wants a flamethrower. So I can keep this flamethrower for myself or I can send it to him. And that's what I did. And that was a massive, massive hit, right?
Yeah.
And then for Russell, same thing. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand my relationship with Russell is very unique, actually for two reasons. Number one, I Dream 100 Russell for almost 3 years before we became friends. Okay? 3 years. I was listening to his stuff, consuming his stuff, going to his event, trying to get his attention, listening to him, studying to him. And I was at an event one time and I finally got my opportunity. It was like, okay, Russell's there and I get to meet him and I have the chance to ask him a question, right? And so what do I know about Russell? I know that Russell loves entrepreneurs. He loves ClickFunnels people and he loves people that implement what he tells them to do, right?
True.
So what has he told us to do? He told us to do the Dream 100, right? So I went up to Russell. I was like, Russell, nice to meet you. It's Josh. He's like, yeah, I know who you are. Like we kind of knew each other at the time, right? I was like, awesome. Hey, I'm trying to Dream 100 you. What type of gifts do you like? Right? So like now this is unique because now I'm literally telling him what I'm trying to do. And I'm saying, help me do what it is that you're telling me to do. And he's getting on an elevator and I'll never forget. He's like literally getting on an elevator to go down. It's him, it's Dave. And he goes, I like old books. And I'm like, okay. And then the elevator shuts and he goes down, right? He's like, ding, down he goes. And so that's all I have to go off of. But now what do I know? I know Russell likes old books. I know he's Mormon, right?
Yeah.
I know that like these things are important to him. So what am I going to go do? So I went on eBay and I started shopping around. I was like, okay, how do I find old books? What are books about like that Mormons like, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing. So that's the first reason. The first reason is because I'm implementing it. It's a 3-year process. The second part was everybody tries to Dream 100 Russell by talking to him about funnels and marketing.
Absolutely. So true.
Russell talks about funnels and marketing all day long. There's nothing unique about it. He's already got Russell could talk to the best marketers and the best funnel builders in the entire world like that. So if I'm going to come in and be like, hey, Russell, I'm a cool funnel builder, it's not going to get his attention. Hey, Russell, I have this really cool thing. It's not going to get his attention. So I was like, I understand that Russell's a human being. He's just like you and I. He's got a family. He's got kids. He's got his own marriage struggles. He's got his own wife struggles. He's got his own marriage desires. He's got his kid desires, right? He has his own hobbies that he likes to do. And so I was like, well, what is Russell into? And so I knew Russell was into wrestling. He's into religion in the Book of Mormon and things like that. So what did I do? Instead of going and get old books about marketing, I went and got old books about the Book of Mormon. And I was like, cool. I'm not going to approach him from marketing like everybody else does. I'm going to approach him from Mormonism like nobody else does, right? And so I bought the Book of Mormon. I went through, I sent it to him. And like, that was the first time that Russell ever shared something of mine on his story. He literally did a story. It was like 3 Instagram stories. It was about around New Year's when he actually got it. And I remember he was getting ready for Funnel Hacking Live. Funnel Hacking Live was less than a month away. They were doing all these promos. And he literally got on there. He's like, I got to stop. I got to give a huge shout out to Josh Forti. Like, he got this really, really unique Christmas gift for me. This is really awesome. And like, that was like that really big breakthrough moment. And so like, whenever I'm doing a Dream 100 for somebody, it's really, really interesting because I approach it differently because I approach it as they're a human. And I want to I would give this piece of advice for you as well specifically, but like for everybody listening, like you don't want the person you're Dream 100ing to think that you're like fangirling over them. You want them to see you as a peer, as an equal. Yeah. And so when I approached Russell Brunson, I didn't want Russell Brunson to see me as I'm a fan of Russell Brunson that's trying to get his attention because, oh my gosh, Russell Brunson. Oh my God, this is amazing. Right? No, I wanted it to be like, oh no, that's Josh Forti. He and I are friends. Oh no, that's Josh Forti. He and I are at the same level. Right? Am I at the same level to him in business?
Absolutely.
No, I'm not. But I am at the same
yeah.
level to him as a person, right?
Yeah.
And so all these people that try to go impress Russell Brunson by their marketing, I'm like, dude, the dude's made hundreds of millions of dollars, right? You're not an equal to him in marketing. But you know where I am an equal to Russell? In religion. You know where I am an equal to Russell? In personal life, as a human, right? And so I didn't go and beg Russell to come be my friend. I went and was like, hey, Russell, we're friends. Therefore, I'm going to send you this gift so that you know that I appreciate our friendship, right? Yeah. And so it's a very, very distinct approach. But I see so many people make this mistake is they look at these people and they look at them as these like these idols, and they might be your idol, right? Like I've got, the thing of like, Steve Jobs and like, Albert Einstein, these people that inspire me, Elon Musk, right? Like I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk. But if I ever got to meet Elon Musk, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, Elon, I'm such a huge fan. This is incredible. I'd be like, yo, what up, Elon? Like, here's a gift, right? Like, I want him to see me as an equal, right? And so like that, taking that approach to say, hey, listen, like I'm a human, you're a human, and I have inherent value to bring to the world, just like you have inherent value to bring to the world. And your inherent value is X. And for us, that's funnels. My inherent value is something else. Let's be friends and understand that I'm really good at what I do and you're really good at what you do. And when you approach that person as you almost want to approach it like if they're not friends with you, they'd be missing out. And I don't think a lot of people would be like, man, if Russell Brunson isn't friends with me, Russell Brunson's missing out. But he is. Like, because you have something to offer, right? You have something that's unique to you. And so if you approach it from that, and the same thing is true with whoever you're trying to dream 100. I just did it with, whether it's Russell or, Dave or Colin or whoever, right? Like figure out what that person is as a human being, figure out what their interests are and approach it differently. Don't do what everybody else is doing because everybody else is doing it. It's really not all that fun.
Yeah. Wow. That's super creative out there. The way I followed everything out there, that was like really crazy and super creative as well. And as you said, people really don't understand that type of aspect, that you don't need to be a follower. You have to make sure you become a friend of them.
Right.
So
listen, I got to hang out with some ballers the last couple of days, right? I don't have a multi-million dollar business. I've made millions of dollars in marketing, but like I'm not making, I sat next to Natalie Hodson, right? She's like, yeah, I made like $3 million in 14 months. I didn't make $3 million in 14 months, right? Yeah. That's crazy. That's awesome, right? From one webinar. I don't have a webinar that did that, but Natalie and I are friends. Why? Because I don't go up to Natalie like, oh my gosh, Natalie. I'm like, no, Natalie's my friend, right? Yeah. And so it's like, if you want to hang out with a bunch of people that are worth millions of dollars, be the type of person that hangs out with people that are worth millions of dollars. Don't act like you shouldn't be in that room. Act like you should be, not through arrogance, but with how you carry yourself.
Yeah, that's really a golden nugget out there. Mic drop for that. But yeah, so that's really awesome out there. And I have a follow-up question alongside that. I think the biggest problem people start to have, they are not clear on their thoughts. And by following you, I know that you're super clear. Whatever your thoughts are for anything, let's say we talk about like politics, or we talk about religion, we talk about anything. Your thoughts are pretty clear, and you're onto it. Whatever it happens, super constructively as well. Because I see what your perspective is, and I really respect that. How you see other people out there that are really not that much of they are in a constraint out there where not super clear what their thoughts are, what their beliefs are, especially being on the social media where it's a blessing but a curse as well. Yeah. How people should go in and handle that aspect of it, where they should be super clear and super confident whatever they're thinking about. And let's say if they're wrong on that, they should acknowledge that as well, rather than just going on it.
Are you so like how
on both ends?
How to get super clear on what it is like your thoughts and beliefs are?
Yeah, and stick to it. Stick to it on the social media itself, because again, if there are so many people out there also try to negative attack you and disagree with you. That's fine. Whatever your thoughts are, it's okay. But why don't people just go in and stick to that particular point and have it with every single fact? I think most people don't even have a thought of anything. On social media.
Yep. It's actually super funny. So, so yesterday, Russell, what we did through, and we got to the end, and the FAT event, which is what we were at. Like basically, the whole purpose of the FAT event is to build a webinar, right? He literally walks you through. It's like step by step by step. Like here's how to build a webinar. Here's how to put your slides together. Here's like what to do. Like all these different things, right? And at the end of it, we had a project, and the project was you need to basically create a whiteboard webinar in 30 minutes, and then you need to present it, right? So like you're literally putting together a brand like this, and so. You know, for me, I actually did it in about 10 minutes because I was actually doing something else. And I was like, okay, cool, I got to get to this. And so in 10 minutes, I went through and I put together, in fact, you want to see my notes on it? I'll actually show you that this actually, hold on, give me 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Hang on.
For sure. Guys, let me know if you're loving it or not. Comment down below. So yeah, let me know.
Okay, and the reason I bring this up is because it actually answers your question, right? So you can see these name tags. This one's Brad Gibbs name tag. This one's Kelly Ann's. I needed paper, so I got them. But I literally put together, I literally wrote out this whole webinar yesterday in about 10 minutes. And the name of the webinar, and this is what answers your question, was how to create unshakable confidence around what you believe and be able to defend it regardless of who is saying you're wrong. Okay, so this is literally the answer to your question. And I went through, and what's interesting is as I was going through and I was kind of preparing this, the backstory I told, because after we prepared the webinar, we were supposed to find a partner, and then we were supposed to pitch it to them, right? Like basically do our webinar. And so for me, I partnered up with, you know who Rachel Peterson is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I partnered up with Rachel Peterson, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do this, right? And so one of the things I said, like the opening secret there was the 3 core elements of creating an unbeatable belief that ensures you never lose. And what's interesting is when I was growing up, I actually grew up in a pretty religious household, okay? And one of the things that it talks about in the Bible, and one of the things that my parents were really, really big on was, hey, you have to know what you believe, you have to know why you believe it, and you have to know or be able to defend it, right? And if you have those 3 things, like you're going to be able to basically follow through on your belief, and you're going to stay a Christian. I mean, like I'm simplifying it down, but like that's the core thing.
Yeah.
Well, I realized that wasn't just true for, and I'm sorry, my camera's kind of blurry there. That's not just true in religion, that's true for anything, right? And so the framework that I use for being able to create a belief and being very certain on something is step number 1, you actually have to know what it is that you believe. And what I mean by that is like, you have to be able to very, very clearly articulate, this is my belief. And what a lot of people, when they like have an opinion on something, it's an opinion that they came up with on the spot.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't think it through. They don't know why they believe it. It's just like they let their emotions go. This is what I think. This is what I believe. And here's why. Right. And so I was like, okay, well, if I have a belief on something, before I'm going to go, and like people think that I just like talk about mass, or I talk about politics, or I talk about religion, or I talk money. And I'm just like throwing random stuff out there. It's like, no, I actually go through and I think about, is this what I believe? What? Okay, let me write that down. Okay, I believe this. I'm just going to use the mask thing. I don't think masks work. Okay, cool, awesome, right? Or I think this thing is good, or I think this thing is bad. Okay, so I'm gonna very clearly articulate this is that thing, right? So in religion, it was I believe the Bible is true, right? And now the question becomes why? Why do you believe that's true? And this is critical. Okay, this is arguably the most important piece of it. Okay, everything in life that we believe to be true or false is made up by a story that's in our head. And this is true in any form of personal development, right? So Russell talks about stories in marketing. I talk about stories in your head, right? If you want to have crazy confidence, tell yourself a different story. You want to go change the world, tell yourself a different story. So if I have a statement and I make this statement, I say, this is what I believe. There is a story that I am telling myself, which makes it, that's why I believe that that's to be true. And so I need to be able to identify that story. Because if I am not able to identify why I think this thing to be true, right, then I'm vulnerable to people's attacks. And they're going to I'm going to be worried that they're going to be able to tell me why I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So the first thing I go is let me very clearly articulate in like 1 or 2 sentences, this is what I believe. And then let me identify the story about why I believe it. So why do I believe Christianity is true? A lot of people believe Christianity is true because their parents told them it's true. Yeah. I believe Christianity is true because my brother died. I went around the world. I studied all these different religions. And out of every religion I studied, and all of my different experiences with religion, Christianity and the Bible is the one that lined up the most and answered all the biggest questions in life. And therefore, that is why I believe it's true. I don't believe it's true because my parents told me it's true. I believe it's true because I've experienced God personally. Okay. So now I know what I believe. I believe the Bible is true. I believe Christianity is true. Then it's cool. I believe it because of this, right? Now I have the third part of the element. So step one is what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And then the third is you got to be able to defend it. So now, and this is another really important part, because most people, they just go, well, I feel like it's true. Or I feel like it's an emotional based thing. That doesn't work. Now I got to go, how do I base that in logic? What facts can I provide that will back up the story that I've told myself? Because if I cannot back up my story in facts or logic, then that story is flawed and I'm vulnerable, right? And so when I go through, I go, okay, cool. Now let me look at facts about the Bible. Let me look at facts and actual, like, logic behind this. Okay, cool. When we look at all these fossils, or when we look at this, okay, there's logical explanation to back up the story that has my belief. Now that's an unbeatable belief. That's an unbeatable argument, right? And so when I'm very, very when I'm super, convicted of things online, when I'm super vocal, people can attack me all day long. It doesn't bother me. Why? Because I know what I believe. I know the story that I'm telling myself about that, and I know that story is true because I've actually gone and based it in facts, right?
Yeah.
And so now, 100%. Like, you can come in, you can attack my argument all day long, but the fact is you can't beat my argument. You have to actually first go and try to debate me on facts, because my argument is now based in facts. So if you can prove my facts wrong, then my argument can break. But it's really, really hard to prove a fact wrong, right? So it's when people attack me, they're like, oh, Josh, you think blank. And I'm like, yes. They're like, you're wrong. And I'm like, okay, what facts do you have? And most people can't back that up. So if you want to create that unbreakable confidence, if you want to create that just belief of like this is true no matter what, and be very, very certain what it is that you believe, that's the formula.
Yeah. Bam. This is crazy out there. Literally, it's like what you believe, why you believe, and how you can go and defend it. I think people just don't go in and check those facts out there. They're not really clear to it. They're just like talking, and they really don't have any sort of like proofs of facts. 100%. That's so true. And I know like we're super limited to time. We like just went like a minute or two away. But again, thank you so much, Josh, for being on the show. But where people can find about you and everything.
Oh man. ThinkDifferentTheory.com, specifically ThinkDifferentTheory.com/listen. That'll take you right to the podcast. iTunes, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are, if you just search Think Different Theory. And then follow me on Instagram, at Josh Forti, my first name, my last name. That's probably, I'm most engaged on Instagram. I do Instagram stories there every day. I reply to DMs there, reply to comments, things like that. So at Josh Forti on Instagram, and ThinkDifferentTheory.com/listen.
Awesome. Absolutely. So guys, I'm going to put up all of those links out there in the description and comment section down below. Any last thing that you want to say before we round the show up, Josh?
Honestly, guys, like RJ, like it's been really awesome to watch you grow. So keep it up, keep rocking and rolling. And just props to you for continuing to go. I would say go and just create massive focus in your life. The biggest reason that people struggle, the biggest reason that people fail is because they try to do way too many things. Figure out what you want, create massive focus around that, and don't stop till it gets done, and you're going to achieve anything you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much, Josh, for being on the show. And guys, this is it for now. We definitely see you guys in the next episode. Until then, peace out.